Greetings and salutations. It is I, Mr. Nothing, the museum curator of the weird and the strange and the host who might be a teenage sidekick. Welcome back to Around the Weird, a booktube channel where I talk about strange and unusual, out of the ordinary literature that I have found in my travels through Lebanon and Ethiopia, which is a weird place to specify, but it's related to what I'm talking about today. Today I wanted to talk about another comic book graphic novel that I read, quickly making my way through those, discovering some that I like and some that I like, but not as much as before. I haven't found any that I hate yet, but there are some that are dipping in quality. So yeah, today I wanted to talk about a specific comic book that features Batman, the Joker, and a search for one's mother. I am talking about A Death in the Family by Jim Starlin, Marv Wolfman, Jim Aparo, and George Perez. I am not familiar with any of these people. Again, a lack of experience with comics would probably foretell that would happen. So it's not surprising, but I think I have heard of Marv Wolfman before. I don't know where, his name just sounds like someone who's big into comic books. And all four of these people have been writing and illustrating and inking and doing various comic booky stuff for years now. And this came out in, I think this is 1988. So they've been doing this for a long time. I don't know if they're retired or anything, but they're all very talented, especially with how they illustrated and wrote this story. I was ultimately a fan, and I'll explain why. So it has different writers than the other comic books. That's something that takes getting used to, because I really liked The Long Halloween, and I wanted to see more from that author. But if you read more about comic books, that's not the case. It happens sometimes. You get entirely different writers for many of the comic books. And I guess that presents an eclectic taste, and there are higher ups who are dictating, how Batman should be, so there's no major differences. But you get different art styles, you get different ways of seeing Batman, which is both good and bad if you're a fan of one specific type of Batman, but maybe not another. Anyways, this edition is kind of infamous. This book is specifically infamous. It takes place years into Batman's career rather than the early parts, which I was enjoying. So Batman is pretty experienced, and he's been through at least one Robin at this point. Dick Grayson, left Batman to become Nightwing because he kind of hated Bruce Wayne. He hated that Batman was controlling him and wouldn't give him the opportunity to strike out on his own. Because he was so controlling, they left on bad terms. And eventually, Batman managed to recruit what's his name? Jason Todd as the next Robin. Which is a tragic encounter. I feel like I'm not spoiling much since this is so old that Jason Todd dies. And it was decided by the fans, largely because, from what I've read, Jason Todd was kind of unpopular. People viewed him as whiny or rash and impulsive, and they didn't like him as much as Dick Grayson. And I think a lot of that has to do with many fans missing the point here. I think the writers were trying to portray Jason Todd as a younger Bruce Wayne, one who didn't have an Alfred growing up, and so that's why he's so the way he is. But luckily he ran into Batman, but Batman has his own problems, so this storyline is kind of inevitable, regardless of whether the fans liked him or not. The fans voted, and how does it turn out? Well, we will find out after pretty soon. I'll provide a little summary, a little analysis, and we will move on from there. So, Death in the Family starts with Batman and Robin, who is, of course, Jason Todd at this point, taking down a child pornography ring. They manage to take it down, but Batman notices that Robin is behaving very erratic, kind of unhinged, not really interested in self-preservation, and he's taking a lot of risks. Eventually, Bruce talks to Alfred about this, and Alfred notes that Jason Todd has been focusing on his mother as of late, his family as of late, and he hasn't had a chance to really address the issues related to his mother or his father since their passing. And so that's kind of a risk right there. And Bruce smartly realizes that he can't afford to take any more risks there, so he benches Jason Gordon, who doesn't take it too well, and it seems like he might defy Batman at some point. Meanwhile, Joker has escaped out of Arkham, as he tends to do. Based on the dialogue, this suggests this takes place a little short time after the Killing Joke, where Joker paralyzed Batwoman, who was Jim Gordon's daughter, Barbara. So, a little animosity between Batman and Joker right there. Joker has had his assets seized by the government, and he is determined to make some money, so he's going to sell a nuclear warhead, which seems like a kind of jump from what Joker normally does, at least in my experience. But I guess that's what he's going to do. He's doing terrorism, and he's selling a nuclear weapon to terrorists, and he does that in the Middle East, Lebanon, Ethiopia, that area right there. So while Batman tracks down Joker, Jason Todd finds out that his real mother might be still alive. The woman who raised him wasn't actually his mother, and he narrows down the search to 3 people who also coincidentally are around the Middle East, in Israel, Lebanon, and Ethiopia. And so they head down there. Batman and Robin run into each other, and they agree to help each other out in their mutual causes. Batman and Robin manage to stumble upon Joker, who is in the process of selling a nuclear warhead to terrorists, and Batman manages to foil his operation, and Joker runs away to Ethiopia. They meet Charmin. What's her name? What is her name here? Charmin Rosen, who is an Israeli secret agent of sorts. But she reveals that she is not Jason Todd's mother. So, that's one off the list. And then they head to a terrorist training facility, training camp in somewhere else in Lebanon, where Batman and Robin take them out, and they try to find the woman who they think might be Jason's mother, but it turns out that woman is Lady Shiva, a noted Batman villain. They manage to take her out, and they inject her with truth serum, and she reveals that she is also not Jason's mother. So they follow up on the final lead in Ethiopia. And the woman in Ethiopia is Sheila Haywood. They track her down, and they find out that yes, she is in fact Jason Todd's mother, and there's a happy reunification moment right there. Unfortunately, Joker has gotten to this woman first, and he's blackmailed her into allowing him to take a convoy of medicine and poison it so that whoever gets it is strongly affected and might die. So Batman goes off on that convoy, but first he says, Robin, do not chase after the Joker. He is a very dangerous man. You should wait for me to come back. Batman manages to save the convoy and make sure the shipment doesn't get to people before everything can be fixed. But Jason sees that Joker is following his mother, and so he wants to save her because, the Joker is dangerous, and he believes he can take care of that. He enters a warehouse where his mother is, and it turns out that she has betrayed him to the Joker, because it turns out that she's been embezzling money from a charity she's working for, and she doesn't want the attention that Batman and Robin will bring, because that'll, get her into deeper trouble. And so, in a terrible moment, she betrays her own son to the Joker, and the Joker responds by beating Jason Todd near to death with a crowbar, and then he places a bomb in the warehouse, ties Sheila up, and then leaves them to die. And that's what they do. The bomb explodes, and there's a brief moment where, like, oh, fans decide. And then in the next edition, it's like, oh, the fans decided, and Robin is dead. Batman was too late in trying to save him. This sends Batman into a spiral of grief, and he's like, I want revenge on the Joker, so he heads back to Gotham City, where he meets Superman, and Superman informs him that it'll cause a diplomatic incident if he attacks the Joker, because the Joker is now the Iranian diplomat to the UN. How did that happen? Ayatollah Khomeini made him the diplomat to the UN, because Iran is in with that terrorism and all kinds of weird things. I'll talk about that in a few moments. So while Joker is at the UN, Batman can't really do anything. He's forced to watch, and Joker is just like, you can't push us around anymore, and he unveils his laughing gas, which Superman manages to fix and make sure it's not a problem. And Batman chases down Joker, who gets in a helicopter, and the helicopter crashes, but Batman doesn't save him. He makes the conscious choice to, let Joker die. Again, another evolution in his character in a lot of ways, but no Joker body can be found, which feels like a cop-out, and that's pretty much where the story ends right there. There is a companion story in this. It's called A Lonely Place of Dying, which is kind of a sequel here. It tells the story of Batman dealing with the grief of losing Jason and becoming more erratic and crazed in his behavior, to the point where a young man named Tim Drake reaches out to Dick Grayson and is like, Batman needs you. But Dick Grayson doesn't want to go back to work for Batman because he's happy as Nightwing. But Tim Drake offers to become the new Robin, which, given that he's like 12 or 13 years old, is another bad choice. Batman, it seems like Batman's going to get another young boy killed. But Tim Drake is different, and if you want to read the story, go ahead. It's pretty good. No, I can't complain about it, and it's I feel like it's a good follow-up, and it touches on a lot of themes that I feel like would be there if these were really connected, and so yeah, that's where it ends. In terms of analysis, this story reads like it's a Batman remembering the past. So it's Batman showing his regrets as well as what he's happy about and remembering Jason Todd. The story happens in progress, but it really feels like some of the narrative is like Batman in the future being like, oh, all the things I did wrong, man. He remembers the things he did right, like rescuing Jason Todd off the streets. And also working with Jason to the point where he didn't kill Two-Face, even though Two-Face killed his dad. He spared him, and Batman was happy about that. And he taught him how to do justice right rather than seeking vengeance. But he also remembers what he did wrong, and it's like Jason Gordon was clearly suffering mentally, emotionally, and Batman didn't get the help he needed when he showed the signs that he needed. And he also just left Jason on his own when he chased after the convoy, and he realizes that was a mistake. Joker is to blame for Jason dying, but Batman had played some role in that he wasn't an effective role model. He wasn't an effective father figure. He adopted this kid, and then he didn't try to fix any of the issues that he had. Batman is very flawed because of that. It's a wonderful story, and it gets at Batman's flaws. I have to wonder, though, an issue that I didn't like so much is how much of this is intentional versus how much of this is intended by the writers, or how much of this is just an accident where they show that Batman is a buffoon, incapable of protecting anyone but himself. I'd say it's pretty intentional, but at times Batman does come off stupid for not picking up on these signs, and I think that just might be a reflection of Batman's relationship with Robin, mentoring a child, but he never knew how to be fully functional as a child because he was feeling a lot of grief and obsessed with avenging his parents. And he tried to place it on Dick Grayson, but Dick was healthy and functional, so he didn't like that. And it worked for a little bit. He was able to control Jason Todd, but in a way, he only fueled his desire for vengeance, and that played out by him, trying to kill a supervillain who was going to harm his real mom. So yeah, a lot to think about there. I also really like this story because it touches upon the Joker question that I talked about this in The Man Who Laughs, where like Batman has to make a choice about killing the Joker or not doing it, because if you don't kill the Joker, he's just going to go on to do more of what he does. A good example of this is The Killing Joke. I haven't read that yet, but I know what happens in the story. Joker paralyzes Barbara, and Batman makes the decision not to kill Joker, even though he could. And so Joker goes to prison. But it's easy for Joker to break out of prison. Very little struggle for him there. So if he can just go to prison and break out, and there's no consequences for his actions, what's stopping him from continuing to kill and launching nuclear bombs, which is what he planned on doing? It raises the question of, should Batman do more to stop Joker? And Joker, like, Batman consciously thinks about stopping Joker. He thinks about letting Joker die in the helicopter crash. And after Robin dies, he wants to, throttle Joker and kill him and make sure that he can't do this anymore. But his coda, his dumb beliefs, prevent him from effectively eliminating the Gotham of the Joker menace. And whether or not he should kill him, I don't know exactly where I fall. I think it'd be good, but who is to put Batman in charge of justice? Because he's a billionaire. He's not with the law. He's not with people, really. He's taking matters into his own hands. And so that raises a lot of questions that I can't answer, and I love when the comic books actively try to consider these issues. So kudos to Wolfman and company there. Another thing that I like is the crowbar scene, where Joker beats Robin to death with a crowbar, and then the place explodes. It's really wonderfully drawn. It's in stark contrast to everything else, which seems bright and happy, but then you have like Joker just savagely beating, and there's blood splatter, and Joker is a crazed monster here. It's one of like Batman's darkest moments, and they clearly illustrate it there. So great job on that. Again, I'd say it's worth reading just for that scene alone, especially because it's so tragic. Because Jason Todd just met his mother, and she betrayed him right away, like a terrible person there. So not very good. One of the few issues I had with this story was the xenophobia that I found there. Batman just goes to the Middle East and starts beating up the brown people who are there. He's given they're terrorists, but again, Batman is a billionaire. He taking things in his hand extrajudicially. Like, he has no say in whether or not terrorists get punished. But there he is, beating up the terrorist and making life worse for everybody in the Middle East in that way. Although Bruce Wayne does say that he's going to send another check to these places to make sure that needs are met and whatnot. So that's good on his part there. But he could probably send more than he's sending, much like billionaires in our time. And a big issue with the xenophobia is that Ayatollah Khomeini shows up. Like, the artists draw a picture of Ayatollah Khomeini, and he's like, "Hey, Joker, do you want a place in my administration?" And Iran just sends a mass murderer to the UN. And I feel like that's some weird commentary about the Iranian state of affairs, especially given the U.S. intervention in the Middle East, and how the U.S. is oftentimes the villain there. And so this feels like propaganda in that the Ayatollah is made to be like some villain working with a mass murderer. It's really weird, and it sinks the story a little, because you could accomplish this story without introducing Middle Eastern terrorists. It just feels unnecessary and pretty shady on their part. So yeah, that's an issue I have there. Anyway, I would say that I absolutely loved Death in the Family. It's a pretty solid story. It doesn't hold up as well as A Death in The Long Halloween or the other comics I read. But I don't think it needs to be that. It's something else entirely, and it's pretty good. The art style was a bit cartoony, especially because Joker looks like a cartoon supervillain, rather than the hideous monster man that he is in The Man Who Laughs. But I guess that's just a personal preference there. There's nothing too wrong with the art style there. It has that retro 1980s, 1970s feel that you saw in the comics at the time. So I enjoyed it. I recommend it to you if you can find it. It's worth checking out. If you have any comments about the story or want to talk about Death in the Family or the nature of the Robin hero persona, feel free to comment below. I would love to have a discussion about that and talk about the various idiosyncrasies that exist within the Robin identity. In the meantime, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so that other people can find out about the story and follow me at Around the Weird so that we can talk about things on Twitter too. And until then, I wish you the best of times in your weird and sidekicky travels. Farewell.